This is Radar for On the Radar Entertainment Blog, coming with another edition of Movie Observations and Review, episode number 9. As I've stated before, Skokie Library movies done with, Display Libraries done with, Hoopla, Canopy, streaming sites on Netflix, and gone to one of those sites you don't want to get a virus on your computer, so you watch it on your phone. And since then, I haven't been the most motivated to watch, but this week I decided at least I'm going to try to watch 5 movies out of 7 days. You know, it's a lofty goal, but when you're working 10 to 4, but you make it work. So the first movie I watched was Finding Steve McQueen. It's based off a true story about these guys from Ohio trying to rob a bank in California where Richard Nixon's campaign manager hid money for the next election. And basically the movie is him the main character played by Travis Fimmel to his girlfriend Rachel Taylor. Oh, so the cops are going to get me and this and that. She's like, you're now telling me you got to leave. You're lying to me. She said my one rule is about lying, not lying to people because her ex was like that. But he's like, yeah, I was part of a bank heist with my uncle, you know, my brother who came back from the military, and he has 2 guys in his crew. And, you know, they're shady people. The FBI's wanted them before. They're bad guys, even though they have their own business and whatnot. And William Fitcher's the uncle. He has his own business and he does stuff. And really, the main character changes his name, uses the pseudonym Steve McQueen because he wants to be Steve McQueen, the famous actor. He drives fast cars. He has lots of speeding tickets, things like that. Like, he wants to embody Steve McQueen. So he's like the getaway driver, the guy who does all the driving and the thing. Now, they basically have this whole plan to rob the bank, to looking for the money. They look through every security deposit box, etc., etc. And he's telling the story. He goes, I'm not really a bad guy. I didn't really want to do this. I didn't realize how bad it was going to be, if there's any violence or anything horrible. He kind of just said, okay, I want to make my uncle proud because he didn't have any parents and whatnot. And Forrest Whitaker is the FBI agent who investigating it when it first happened, and he's the one that's been looking for Steve McQueen. That's why they call him Steve McQueen, because he has no presence on the planet because he changed his name, and he'd been running and hiding until he met that girl, and they stayed together, and he kept using the pseudonym Steve McQueen and everything, so that's why they're looking for the fake guy Steve McQueen. Now, they didn't really take a full expanding of the movie because, you know, it wasn't that long of a movie. It was one of those hour and a half to hour 40-minute movies as well, so yeah, so it wasn't that long of a movie, and they really expand on every single detail because it was based off a true story. But I felt it was a good movie. Some people did not. The critics weren't that excited about it, but I thought, hey, it's a bank heist movie. It's a love story. There's good actors in the movie, good characters. The brother who came back from war when they robbed the bank and they were stealing everything in the security deposit boxes. And then there was things like they did, like the bomb demolition guy is the reason why they got caught. He left DNA and anything available. The guy with the guns with the past, he screwed up as well. And then, of course, registering your name for a taxi cab or flights, you know, under your real names, and also then using a pseudonym Steve McQueen. They should just driven there, things like that. But the brother from the military who's quiet, he just came along for the ride. He was able to keep a baseball binder worth of cards that belonged to that guy who was Nixon's campaign manager, and in the binder had his business card and what they were actually looking for, the routing number, but he had his binder of cards that all these Hall of Famers like Willie Mays, Harmon Killebrew. It was really cool. And the one thing he had left from his brother before he last saw him was a Harmon Killebrew card. So it was pretty interesting. Bank heist movie, not that long. Good actors. Forrest Whitaker was the FBI agent. William Fitcher was in it. I suggest you watching because it's not too long, based off a true story. That's a thumbs up. The next movie that I watched was Brightburn. It was like a horror film, sci-fi film where an alien comes down and Elizabeth Banks is the mother and Matt Jones plays the uncle, and then the aunt is the school social worker and whatnot. And when he starts turning 12, you think, oh, you're going to have to talk to him because of puberty. But really, because he came from an alien planet and they have no idea where he came from, they hit the ship like in Superman, blah, blah, blah. Then instead of being good, he turns to being evil, terrorizing the whole entire town and his family and his parents, everybody. and it wasn't that long of a movie. So it was more of a hit and miss movie. The premise of evil Superman in the United States, or just an alien who doesn't turn out to be good with all of his superpowers. Just it was okay. And they also did it in Kansas too. Elizabeth is a good actress, but she couldn't say this movie. It's a watchable movie because it's not that long. It's an interesting premise, but it just wasn't that great. Now the next movie I watched was a sequel to The Dog's Purpose. It was called A Dog's Journey, where Dennis Quaid is the adult version, AJ Kaplan was the kid version, Josh Gad voices the dog, who, like in the other movie, lived different lives as different dogs, but always somehow to come back and find the original owner and whatnot. And Mark Hellerberger plays the woman that gets back together with Dennis Quaid, and she has a son, but unfortunately that son passes away. And the baby mama and the mother of the child and the child live with them on the farm, but the woman doesn't feel like she's welcome, so she takes the child away. And then when the dog, like in the other movies, passes away, it's his journey to finding the girl again. Finds her, of course, as the other movie was. He passes away, tries to find her again, keeps doing it till she gets back. The dog gets back, Josh Gad, as a dog. Continuing the story until she basically makes sure to takes care of her and gets reunited with her grandparents who, hadn't seen her since she was taken away at 2. So it was got an emotional movie. It made me cry. It was only an hour and 47 minutes. It wasn't that long. And who doesn't like a movie about dogs? And it was like a sequel to the other one. And Dennis Quaid's a good actor. Josh Gad's a good actor. So I'd recommend the movie A Dog's Journey if you like the first one, A Dog's Purpose, and you like movies about dogs and taking care of other people. And then I watched this really short movie that was is also a romantic movie that the main actors in the movie are actors that I've seen before that you're like, wow, they're on TV and they get a break. So the guy who plays the main lead in the movie plays like child of Asian descent whose parents own a business in New York. He's out there for an interview with Dartmouth with his friend on the train, and they see a girl, and he like, oh, that girl has a jacket, and that speaks to me. Like, what are the odds? And he saves her life, convinces her he could have told them fall in love together if he gives them one day, but she doesn't have that much time because her family's really from Jamaica and they're going to be deported, and she wants to stay in the United States. So she fights the whole entire time because she doesn't believe in love. It's a little cliche there. And he tries to prove it to her, tries to help her through the whole deportation thing, the whole proving love thing, showing his life, etc., etc. John Leguizamo plays like the lawyer that she has to go see for her final resort. Harper Hill was the guy in immigration she talked to. And Charles Melton, if y'all know him, he plays the Asian character Reggie in Riverdale, so it was nice to see him. And it was also nice to see Jake Choi from Single Parents. And it was also nice to see Luke, the actor who plays Luke Fox from Batwoman, was playing his close friend in the movie. So I see all these actors from TV shows that I have seen before. So it was nice to see him in the movie as well, Cameron Johnson. Now, basically, like in all romantic things, she does fall for him. And they have this incredible one day together. And unfortunately, things don't always work out in the movie. But of course, they couldn't have left it on a bad note. So they say like 5 years later, they bump into each other when she comes back to New York at the same cafe, asking Leguizamo if he's seen him. And he's like, no, I haven't seen him since he walked out of my office. She obviously didn't look into contacting his family if they own the same store. Or Jake Choi, the brother in the movie. Nope, the same cafe that he took her to, he happened to be doing poetry. So it was a very coincident type of movie. The lead actress, Yari Shadidi, she did a very good job in this movie. And so the movie isn't that long. It's basically a good love story with some cliche actors that I'm familiar with from television and from movies in John Leguizamo's case. And yeah, it was a cute romantic comedy. I would watch it if I were you guys. And then The other movie I watched is the movie Tolkien, about J.R. Tolkien. Basically, it shows his upbringing from the moment his father dies and he and his mother and his brother move into the church, and Colm Meaney plays the pastor, priest guy who becomes his guardian eventually when his mother dies. He then goes to school and he's got to follow a track where he goes to this college. If he doesn't go to this college, then he's got to become a priest. Blah blah blah. He and his brother both get drafted. He doesn't feel safe because he's an orphan. All the other people are privileged parents, like the dean of students' son and all these other rich people. And then they form this pack where they encourage each other to do all sorts of things: music, poetry, writing, encourage going to college. But of course, everything gets upended because of the First World War. And what happens in World War, you lose your friends, you lose sometimes yourself. And he eventually, as he gives up his romantic interludes with the woman that he was in love with, who played by Lily Collins, he goes to war, and when he comes back, they realize they belong together, even though she was engaged. So there's a little bit of a romance in J.R. Tolkien's life. And then, of course, obviously, the movie ends with him writing the first book of Lord of the Rings, which is The Hobbit. And he kind of took inspiration from his friends who passed away in the military, during World War, that he was friends with, all of them into making the movie. And when you have Nicholas Hoult, who people know from playing Beast in the prequel movies, and is the British go-to actor, where he's played other people. Like, he has played people in, like, older British films, like The Favourite. He was in Rebel in the Rye, where he played, the guy who wrote Catcher in the Rye, that sort of thing. Like, he's playing these people who, are famous and whatnot. And it was an okay movie. It wasn't that long. It was in the hour and 45 to hour 50-minute movie. So you're not just spending your time watching a long British drama that's a biopic, that sort of thing. You're actually getting your chance to... Yeah, so that's what you're getting at now. I'm a little biased because he's a good actor, and I like him, so that's why I would suggest you watch it. And then he played Nikola Tesla in another movie. So yeah, he's playing all these famous people that, that he's good at doing. So I would say that this week it wasn't a bad crop of movies. That the movie Tolkien, about J.R. Tolkien's upbringing up until the point he started writing The Hobbit, wasn't a bad movie. And of course, I did enjoy the cute romantic movie The Sun Is Also a Star. The cute movie Dog's Journey. Brightburn was a thumbs down, but it wasn't like a waste of your time because it's a sci-fi horror film, so it was not waste of time. And Finding Christine was a great Ben Cast movie with good actors based off a true story. Thanks for listening to another edition of Movie Observations and Reviews. This is Red Father Entertainment Blog. See you guys next time.